beautifully clear of that fifth fence. Head on to the Saracen horse feeds, Parallel and Hedges.
Well, this, as we said, first combination fence out on course, real test of accuracy. Constantin van Richtvorsel and Beat It on the 4 strides, and then 2 strides between the 2 hedges, beautifully demonstrated by Constantin van Richtvorsel, the Quidam de Revel side, 13-year-old, lying in 59th place after dressage and show jumping. They disappear through the trees and on to the Kenton Masters Open Ditch and Cottages.com flower trough at 7 and 8.
Next to join us will be Jerome Rabin with Frank Rabin's Quaral du A for Germany, number 2. 30.2 dressage left them in 20th position after that first phase. Good clear round in the show jumping has lifted them up to 14th position, so they are underway and approaching the Pounter's sausage vegetable display. They jump clear of that.
Well, disappearing through the trees onto the RDA log at 3 and the Hatter's Kitchen log at 4. That in the quarry at 3 and 4. Waiting for news on Tintin van Richtvorsel and Beat It, our trailblazers on the CCI SO4 star. Jumping the barefoot retreat arrowhead and rails at 10A, B and C. Constantin van Richtvorsel and Beat It go on to the Nags Essential feed cart. Just see them as they cross the avenue and come up the avenue now is Quaral du R, Jerome Rabin. Number of horses here over the last few days. So jumping the Devaku barn at 5, Jerome Rabin and Quaral du R up to the Saracen horse feed, Parallel and Hedges, 6A, B and C.
Well, Quaral du R and Jerome Rabin absolutely perfectly clear of the Saracen horse feeds, Parallel and Hedges. Next to go is a horse called Next to Go. Next to Go owned by Ivan Puezo Barbazar for Spain and ridden by him, number 3 in Section A, 40.4 dressage, 12 from the show jumping.
Tintin van Richtvorsel beautifully through the cartridges and corners at 12, up to the Shadwell Park gates at 13. Another good jump for Beat It, away from the gate to the Semmelise house at 14. Really nice galloping stretch for these horses. 13 years old, Beat It, so making his way, meandering his way through the trees here at Houghton. Leg 1 of 7 for the Nations Cup. First team member for Belgium, jumps the house and now makes the turn to the Suzuki ATV Water at 15A, B and C. Tintin hugely experienced, been a member of the Belgian team for a number of years. As he sets up for this big log, just set back from the edge of the bank, gets close to the house in the middle, and then back onto dry ground, just chips in an extra stride to the house on the exit. Just watch that again. Gets very close, but Beat It, cat-like athletic jumping up the hill and over the C element. Well, next to go is away over the start as Quaral du R, Jerome Rabin coming to now jump the cartridges and corners at 12A, B and C. Corner, cartridge and corner, absolutely perfect. Takes the red flag, but jumps inside the flag. That deemed clear by our fence judges there onto the Shadwell Park gate at 13. Off the left-handed turn, just there to make sure the riders are in control.
Well, as Next to Go and Ivan Buezo Barbazar go on towards the Devaku barn at 5. Quaral du R and Jerome Rabin are clear of the Semmelise house and heading on to the Suzuki ATV Water. So it's a big drop down into this water And as they turn to the A element, they drop down in water. 4 strides to the B element in the water, and then easily clear of the C element. Well, next to go, and Ivan Buezo-Barbazar are well clear of the Saracen horse feeds. Parallel and Hedges, they gallop on now to the Kenton Masters open ditch. Beat It and Tintin van Rickvorsel, they've gone clear of the Fair Saddles, Coloured Log and Trakehner and Log.
Well, in fact, we've been given the information that the French rider, Francois Lemieux, had withdrawn, but out on course. So the score for the French team remains 103.6. They stay in 7th place.
Well, they are clear of the Riding for the Disabled Association log into the quarry, and will be heading on towards the Devaku barn. In fact, can see them galloping along the avenue towards that 5th fence.
More beautiful sculptures in the background. Damien Hirst, amongst many exhibiting here. Francois Lemieux and Augustin de Terroir. 32.6 dressage. 42nd after dressage, clearing the show jumping. Took them up 12 places into 30th. Approaching the Saracen horse feed, Parallel and Hedges. 4 strides and then 2 strides between the angled hedges. Holds the line beautifully through there. So first team rider for France out.
Well, looks like we're just seeing a replay of Next to Go and Ivan Buezo-Barbazar. They are heading on towards the Shadwell Park gate, having jumped the 3 elements there clear. So they head on to the Semele's house now.
We're just catching up with Next to Go and Ivan Buezo-Barbazar coming towards the water now, the Suzuki ATV water at 15A, B and C. Gets a reminder going in. Lucky to get away with the B elements, back onto dry ground, and then just gets quite close to the C element, but clear. Just watching again, Ivan Buezo-Barbazar Next to Go at the Suzuki water. Paul Duart, Jerome Rabin, they've jumped the last. Just see how positive he was in, then lands and just has to pick up the knitting. Jumps across on the angle, the house in the water. And back out and onto the C element, gets close, very clever Next to Go. On new starter for Switzerland, this is Patricia Attinger and Hilton P. As Francois Lemieux down at the cartridges and corners. So the first score in for Tintin van Rickvorsel for Belgium. Beat It, ran in 7:37, 37 seconds over the time. They incur 14.8 time and complete on 52.2. That the first team score for the Belgian team, so completing on 52.2.
Well, as Augustin Duterrois and Francois Lemieux head on to the Suzuki ATV Water. We're hearing that Ivan Buezo-Barbazar and next to go have had a refusal at the B element of the 19th. That will cost them the 20 penalties as Francois Lemieux drops down into the Suzuki ATV Water. Very measured stride seen to the B element and easily clear of the C there. Well, it's a second refusal and now a third at the 19th for next to go and Ivan Buezo-Barbazar.
Patricia Attinger and Houghton P up at the Saracen horse feeds, parallel and 2 hedges, gets 5 strides, probably the 3 strides then to the second of those hedges. Little bit ginger through there. We're wanting a more positive stride coming on, but sad news for Spain with Ivan Buezo-Barbazar and next to go, eliminated across the country. New starter, Giovanni Ugolotti for Italy, first team rider for Italy with Duke of Champion, 40.1 dressage, clear in the show jumping, owned by Mary Bathurst and Catherine Robinson. They've jumped the second, they go to the 2 logs at 3 and 4.
Well, crucially for Spain, next to go and Ivan Buezo-Barbazar, they were their discard score anyway, but it does mean that all 3 of the other Spanish rides, all of their scores will have to count.
Well, just looking out to the country and about to come down the avenue is Giovanni Ugolotti with Duke of Hearts sire, Duke of Champion, number 6. Well, a score for Jerome Rabin and Quadaloo R, round in 7 minutes 4 seconds, 4 seconds over 1.6 time. They complete on 31.8, and that a really good start for the German team. 31.8 for Jerome Rabin. Patricia Attinger at the Carterton corner. 12, A, B and C, took the red flag. Let's wait for confirmation from our fence judges there to see whether she jumped the right side. Just inside the flag, we understand, at 12C. Clear of the Shadwell gates as Giovanni Ugolotti and Duke of Champion pop the Devaku barn at 5.
Well, Patricia Attinger for Switzerland and Houghton P. They head on to this Semmelise house and jump cleanly clear of that. Run on to the Suzuki ATV Water. So just approaching that big drop down into the water. Oh, and promptly run into trouble there. Pick up a refusal at the A element. Well, there is no alternative here, so they have to just turn round and represent at that same fence. I'm afraid that is a second refusal. 20 penalties for the first refusal, 60 for the second.
Well, coming for their third all-important final attempts. Houghton P, Patricia Attinger, doesn't look keen though. And sadly, 3 refusals is elimination. So that means now Switzerland down to 3 team members. Patricia was the drop score, but now Switzerland will need to rely on their 3 remaining riders. So already causing lots of trouble as Giovanni Ugolotti just runs out to the right-hand side of 12C. So that expensive 20 penalties for the Italian. Giovanni Ugolotti now coming for a second attempt. Just about to jump that second corner and clear on their second attempt onto the Shadwell Park gate at 13.
On the early stages of the course, Ludwig Svennesdahl and Stinger for Sweden. Number 7, They are on a score of 29.5 with their score as a counting score for Sweden. So as they head on towards the Devaku barn, if you are on site here, riders, please do not ride your bicycles on the track. No bicycles to be ridden on the track here at the Saracen Horse Feeds Houghton International Horse Trials.
Big jump in, it's a big fence into the water. Duke of Champion up and out over the sea elements.
We're heading away from the Devaku barn at 5. It's Stinger and Ludvig Svennesdahl on that score of 29.5. This pair in 10th position overnight. Jump beautifully clear of the A, B and now C element. Really accurate riding there. They head away to the Kenton Masters Open ditch.
Well, our latest starter is the first team rider for Great Britain, Richard Coney. Richard with his own Kananaskis, 33.2 dressage, clear in the show jumping. Ludvig Svennesdahl and Stinger jump neatly through the barefoot retreat, arrowhead and rails at 10, A, B and C. Kananaskis and Richard Coney at the RDA log at 3. As we just keep up with Ludvig Svennesdahl for Sweden at the Nags Essential Feed cart at 11.
Duke of Champion, Giovanni Galotti, clear of the Bedmax saw bench. They head on to the Arch and Travel chests, 19 A and B. As we watch them jumping the two elements, they head on towards the Fairfax Saddles coloured log.
Kananaskis and Richard Coney, they're jumping the Devaku barn at 5, now come up to the water tower to turn right-handed to the Saracen Horse Feed parallel and hedges. Jump the parallel, then 4 strides to the first of the angled hedges at 6B and C. Looks very confident in the early stages of the course. Great Britain lying in 4th place after the dressage and show jumping.
While Stinger and Ludvig Svennesdahl absolutely flying clear off the Newmarket Equine Hospital cartridge and corners. They head on to the Shadwell Park gate now.
We're about to jump the Semmelise House at 14, Ludvig Svennesdahl and Stinger. Then presses the accelerator and drops downhill to the Suzuki ATV Water, 15A, B and C. Already seen a number of problems here. Big fence in, set back from the edge. Stinger looks very confident, just drops the hind legs on landing. Ludvig sits up, guides this 12-year-old safely through the water and giving a lot of confidence at the water there. Richard Coney at the barefoot retreats, arrowheads and rail, that middle rail, then the second of the arrowheads. Jumped beautifully, lying in 29th place after dressage and show jumping.
Well, Kananaskis has some great form behind him, second at Barbary Castle last year, as well as being third at Aradupin in the Nations Cup. They've just jumped the Nags Essential Feed cart as Duke of Champion and Giovanni Galotti. They have completed, did pick up the 20 penalties on their way round.
Well, Richard Coney, Kananaskis, as you said, Claire, really good form already this year at the cartridges and corner, 12A, B and C. The first of those corners on the top of the bank, left-handed corner, drops down to the cartridge, then holding the line to the second of those corners. Well, look as any. And on to the chests now. It's Ludvig Svennesdahl. Just slips the reins. We've talked about that earlier this morning, just allowing the horses to use their head and neck down at the two chests at 19A and B as Richard Coney makes his way to the Semmelise House at 14.
Well, our latest starter underway is Beat Dana for Switzerland with London Lou. Number 9, 48.4 dressage and 12 added in the show jumping.
Kananaskis jumps well over the Semmelweis house at 14. Drops down to the Suzuki ATV water, 15 A, B and C, this three-part combination. Big jump over the rail and hedge. Lands well. Richard C jumps across on the angle and then up over the box at C, 15C.
Well, catching up with London Lou and Beat Dana for Switzerland. They're just turning to the Saracen horse feeds, parallel and hedges. They jump the first of the parallels. A little bit of a tricky turn there, but they pop in the 2 strides from the B to the C, head on to the Kenton Masters Open ditch.
And this is the first individual rider that we see. We've now had the first 9 riders in the teams that have gone across the country. So we'll then be able to start bringing you some team totals, but really until we get into the second and third rotation, we'll have no idea where those team competitions are going. But it's already caused enough trouble. We've had a number of competitors that have been eliminated out there on course, 1 for Switzerland and also 1 for Spain. So it's much to play for out there on course.
Well, the first team rider for Sweden is home, Ludwig Svennestal and Stinger. They jumped clear over all the fences, so we'll bring you their time when we have it. We've got Tom McEwen and No Excuse just underway.
Kananaskis and Richard Coney come to the Archant travel chests. Again, just slips the reins, allows Kananaskis to jump out of his stride. A score for Giovanni Ugolotti and Duke of Champion. 36 seconds over the time, 7:36, 14.4 time. 20 jumping, they complete on 74.5. That's the score for Team Italy.
Well, No Excuse and Tom McEwen. Tom riding for Michelle Sol here for Great Britain. 28.8 dressage and clear in the show jumping. Lifted them up the order, but not a team rider, but riding individually. No Excuse, Tom McEwen. They head on to the Devon at 5. Beat Dana, London Lou, approaching the Newmarket Equine Hospital Cartridge and Corners complex. Well, the A element there on the mound, that frangible corner. They jump over that, run down to the B element, the cartridge, and straight as any over the corner. Whilst No Excuse, Tom McEwen are approaching the Saracen horse feeds, parallel and hedges now. Kananaskis, Richard Coney just have the last to jump. Well, Tom McEwen, No Excuse, up at that first combination. Beautifully clear there. Spence, you have a score?
Yeah, really good score as well for Ludwig Svennestal. 7 seconds inside the time. He finishes on his dressage score of 29.5. And that will be a really good handy score for Team Sweden, currently sitting in 2nd place. So first rider inside the time on this CCI short 4-star track.
London Lou, Beat Dana down at the Suzuki ATV water. A reluctant jump down there into the water. Better jumping at the B element. Beat Dana really having to work quite hard there, but they're out of that combination without penalty.
Tom McEwen, No Excuse, jumping through the 3 elements of the arrowhead and rails at 10 A, B and C. Also jumps the feed cart at 11. London Lou, Beat Dana. I think really helped him out. Sometimes you do need a little bit of help out there on the cross country. As away from the start for Great Britain, individual rider. This is Nicola Wilson, Nicola with Joe and James Lambert. Deirdre Johnson's JL Dublin, 31.4 dressage, clear in the show jumping.
No Excuse, Tom McEwen at the Newmarket Equine Hospital, Cartridge and Corners. Well, you see No Excuse taking the flag at the C element, judged to be within that flag, so won't be penalised there. They head on to the Shadwell Park gate and jump neatly clear of that as JL Dublin, Nicola Wilson, they're approaching the Devaku barn. And London Lou and Beat Dana just gallop clear of the Bedmax saw bench.
Tom McKeown jumps beautifully over the Semmelise house at 14 as he drops down now to the Suzuki ATV Water 15A, B and C. This 10-year-old by Necton. Bold jump in, Tom slips the reins, keeps the balance between the A and B element, then drives up the hill. Well, as good as any we've seen so far.
London Lou and Beat Dana at the two treasure chests at 19 A and B. Did well to get away without penalty there as we pick up JL Dublin and Nicola Wilson clear of the Devaku barn. Just making that turn to the Saracen horse feeds, Parallel and Hedges. Oh, a big bold jump at the Parallel. They take on those two Hedges, neat as any we've seen.
Well, lady starter is Imogen Murray with the Murray team and Miss Fran Reeves, Rowan Ruby by Roquefort, 11-year-old bay mare, 31.2 dressage, just the one pole lowered in the show jumping. 23 their number. They're clear of the first two fences. Beat Dana and London Lou at the penultimate fence, 22-23. Now goes to the Olympic Diamonds.
JL Dublin, Nicola Wilson easily clearing the Barefoot Retreats, Arrowhead and Rails there. They head on to the Nags Essential feed cart. Well, London Lou and Beat Dana have completed. We've just seen JL Dublin and Nicola Wilson fly the Nags Essential feed cart as Rahir Ruby and Imogen Murray gallop along the avenue to the Devaku barn. See a perfect stride there. It's on towards the Saracen horse feeds, Parallel and Hedges. Like everyone else, just hugging the ropes before turning to the Parallel. They jump that and now pop clear of the two Hedges. Spence, you have a score.
Yeah, another score in, and it's Richard Coney Kananaskis, 6 minutes 56 seconds, 4 seconds inside the time. They again finish on their dressage score 33.2 and put pressure on the team standings, so that's a really good start for Great Britain as well. Nicola Wilson at the Shadwell Park gate at 13. JL Dublin jumps well out of their stride over that, disappears through the trees. The Semmelise house at 14.
Well, there's no excuse. Tom McEwen head on towards the final fence. Nicola Wilson, JL Dublin, gallop to the Semmelise house and jump clear of that. It's the Suzuki ATV Water that awaits them.
Tom McKeown and no excuse, jump the last to complete. Nicola Wilson, JL Dublin at the Suzuki ATV Water. Again, very neatly through. Just 8 years old, JL Dublin by Dorado. But really bold. Imogen Murray we catch up with.
Yeah, Rahir Ruby and Imogen Murray at the three elements of the Barefoot Retreats, Arrowhead and Rails. It's a great use of the ground there, really testing the accuracy of both horse and rider. Well, as JL Dublin jumps the Ben Burgess flower box, Rahir Ruby and Imogen Murray, they are approaching the Newmarket Equine Hospital cartridge and corners.
It's interesting just then, we just saw Joseph Murphy and Shot walking the course. A lot of these riders out there watching these initial riders, seeing how they tackle these fences. It's one thing walking them, but sometimes it's useful as well just to get an eye on how they're walking, how they're jumping, and on the whole. Now that was a lucky moment for Imogen Murray. We'll wait for confirmation from our fence judges at the flag. Well, if they've said they jumped the wrong side of the flag, but being given 15 penalties. That will be under review now. That's at the C element of 12. So that will come under video inspection, and it's always easier to give the 15 to take them away than be given them later on.
Well, next to join us will be Simon Grieve and the Ruttman. Simon riding for Joanne Rutter here. 39.7 dressage, 4 in the show jumping, 19 their number. Well, Rahiran Ruby and Imogen Murray approaching that drop down into the Suzuki ATV water. Back into a trot there. It was great to see Imogen let the horse come back into trot, just kept the contact, kept her leg on, popped over that fence in the water from the trot, and then picked up the canter again. So we're just watching her now as she jumps the beat, and then horse's ears pricked, clears that C element.
Well, the Ruttman and Simon Grieve going well in the early stages. In fact, not just left the start book, they're about to leave the start book. Now they're going well in the early stages. They're about to jump the Event Horse Owners Association brush roll at 1. So this by Kankan Vidiel, 10-year-old bay gelding, owned by Joanne Rutter. Jumping.
Well, JL Dublin and Nicola Wilson heading on down to the Saracen Horse Speeds 2012 Olympic Diamond, whilst Imogen Murray and Rahiran Ruby are clear of the Howes Percival sundials at 17A and B. Now jump the Bedmax saw bench.
Well, we catch up with Imogen Murray and Rahiran Ruby at the chest in 19B. A really big drop on the B element of 19, just slipping the reins, allowing Rahiran Ruby to use her head and neck. Down the avenue to the Devaku barn at 5.
It's a wonderful shot, that, with the artwork in the background here at Houghton. Real feature these days as Simon Grieve and the Ruttman jump the Devaku barn.
And Simon's done really well to get back. He dislocated his shoulder at Chatsworth just a few weeks ago, as too did somebody else up here in control. And we're giving him lots of pats and cuddles. But Simon's done really well. He was back at Rockingham just a week ago as well. So it just goes to show how tough these event riders are. Just how tough these commentators and controllers are. Sorry, corrected.
Well, Imogen Murray, Rahiran Ruby, they are the most advanced around the track, coming right up towards, in fact, just in front of our commentary position. Jump the Pure Lettings parallel brush, now the GJL Animal Feeds hay racks.
Well, jumping the Kenton Masters Open Ditch at 7 and the Flower Trough at 8, the Ruttman and Simon Grieve making their way to the Living Leader picture frame at 9. Great weather conditions here at the Saracen Horse Feeds Houghton International Horse Trials. Just slightly overcast, but perfect cross-country weather conditions. Simon Grieve, the Ruttman at the Barefoot Retreat, Arrowhead and Rails at 10 A, B and C. As Claire said, really good use of the topography here. Simon rides really well.
Well, you can see there, particularly in the combination fences, where these riders having a weaker shoulder is going to affect your riding here, but Simon showing none of that, really easily sets the Ruttman up, and they're now clear of the Nags Essential feed carts.
Well, he has the course to himself, the Ruttman and Simon Grieve onto the cartridges and corner, 12A, B and C. There's Joseph Murphy there, just left to centre screen, as we catch up with Simon Grieve as he comes to the first of those corners. Left-handed corner on the top of the mound, running then downhill towards the cartridge, 12B. Walking that the other day, 5 strides and 4 strides. Simon actually went on 6 and 4. But there's wiggle room in there. Land and make the decision, make it happen. And that's what cross-country riding is all about, knowing the horse that you're sat on. Simon Grieve and the Ruttman jumped the Shadwell Park gates at 13.
Next to join us, Felicity Collins. She's riding Vicky Collins. Just Amazing the third, 37.1 dressage. Clearing the show jumping, lifted them up the order, number 12. Today, well, we pick up the Ruttman and Simon Grieve heading on towards the Semmelise house. Drop on landing and easily clear there. They turn their attention to the Suzuki ATV Water. We've already seen this fence having some impact on the competition. So the Ruttman and Simon Grieve approach the three elements, drop well down into the water, get a little bit close to the B element, but are out the far side, having cleared that skinny C element. They head on to the Ben Burgess flower box at 16. So with Just Amazing the third and Felicity Collins entering the start box, they'll be the next that we see. We have had the withdrawal of Santiago Bay and Gemma Tattersall, which is why there's a slightly longer delay. Just Amazing the third, Felicity Collins underway then, clear of the Event Horse Owners Association brush roll, and now the Pouters vegetable display. Simon Grieve, the Ruttman, took the red flag with them at the first of the house, Percival's Sundials. They were, however, within that flag, so are clear, head on towards the Bedmax saw bench.
So we just see them as they jump the Bedmax saw bench at 18, onto the Arch and Travel chest at 19, A and B. Simon Grieve, the Ruttman, lying in 84th place after dressage and show jumping. Very tight amongst the top of the leaderboard though. Approaching the first of those travel chests, just fighting a little bit for his head. Simon, main aim is to keep the balance between the two elements, and does that well.
Well, Just Amazing and Felicity Collins come to the Devaku barn and jump that. They're now at the Saracen horse feeds. Parallel and Hedges beautifully clear there. First of the combinations behind them, that's always a good feeling. So they move on to the Kenton Masters open ditch now at 7.
Felicity just having to work quite hard between those two elements up at 6. But in the early stages, first combination fence, and it's right at the top of the avenue by the water tower. She goes on, as Claire said, to the Kenton Masters open ditch at thecottages.com flower trough at 8. They've jumped those two elements, so onto the living leader picture frame at 9. It's 24 numbered fences, 35 jumping efforts around Alec Lahore's cross-country course.
Well, we now have the Ruttman Simon Grieve approaching the Pure Lettings parallel brush. Head on to the penultimate as Felicity Collins, Just Amazing, are clear of the barefoot retreats. Arrowhead at A, that's 10A, a little bit difficult at the B element, but Felicity did well to keep Just Amazing straight for the B and C elements. They now turn to the Nags Essential feed cart. Ahead of them, the Ruttman and Simon Grieve have completed.
For those that are watching, we're live on FEI TV and also live on the Houghton website. Just watching again Felicity Collins and Just Amazing the third go through that combination at 10A, B and C. It's annoying for you guys out there that can't see the TV, but we're having to commentate on the live stream as Sam Griffiths is away with Paul Anking's River, owned by Super.
Felicity really having to work to make up the distance between elements, and you could see her really trying to get Just Amazing to get to that C element, but it just didn't quite come off. We're seeing the replay now, and yeah, just running out of steam, and as you say, that perhaps had been coming for a little while.
Sam Griffiths and Paul Ank Kings River by King's Master, 11-year-old Bay Gelding, number 13, 30 dressage, 1 down show jumping, 4 to add. They're up at the Saracen Horse Feed, parallel and hedges at 6A, B and C. Amazon winner with Paul Ank Brocker beautifully through. Very easy passage through 6A, B and C as we catch up with Felicity Collins down at the Semmelise house. Jumps the Semmelise house, drops down the Suzuki ATV water.
Well, it's just amazing. The third Felicity Collins come to this Suzuki ATV water. An uncomfortable jump down into the water. And I'm afraid just grinding to a halt at the B element. And looks as though Felicity has decided to retire. Hand goes up.
I'm afraid it just didn't look like her day out there today on the cross country. It started at fence 6. She started really having to ride Just Amazing. I've watched this horse for many years going across the country. Again, just looking at the C element or that fence on the 2-star track, she just is spooky. She's having a look around, and it's very unlike her, a little bit uncharacteristic, but horses being horses, they are not the same every day, and they'll be back to fight another one very shortly.
Well, we just saw Paul Ank Kings River and Sam Griffiths jumping really well clear of the Barefoot Retreats, Arrowhead and Rails. Our latest starter underway is Julia Norman. She's riding her own, and James Hussey's Wizard of Oz. 14, the number, 39.1 dressage, couple of rails down show jumping, and they are clear of the 4th.
Paul Ank Kings River and Sam Griffiths for Australia, individual rider, coming now down to the corner, Cartridge corner combination, sponsored by Newmarket Equine Hospital, celebrating 10 years now. To the first of those corners, left-handed corner. Goes on the 5, needs then just to hold the line for the 4 strides. Sam sits well in balance, hops through all 3 elements, and now off the left-handed turn to the Shadwell Park gates at 13. Very upright gate on Mim clip, so should the horses hit that, it will be activated and drop down.
Wizard of Julia Norman heading away from the Devon Farm. Saracen Horse Feeds, parallel and hedges, and are clear of the 3 elements there. Sam Griffiths, Paul Ank Kings River going to the Suzuki ATV water and dropping down into the water, carefully clear of that angled house in the water, and another careful jump from Paul Ank Kings River as Julia Norman, Wizard of Oz, are through the Barefoot Retreats, Arrowhead and Rails. Head on to the Nags Essentials feed cart. Relatively straightforward fence there at the 11th, separating 2 combination fences on course. I say straightforward. Julia Norman just gave Wizard of Oz a reminder there, encourages him forwards.
Julia Norman, former Julia Hussey, of course this taken on back in 2017 by Catherine Coleman for the United States, but Julia pretty much done all the work with this now 14-year-old chestnut. Know each other extremely well. Tom Crisp, Sergeant Crisp, not Tom Crisp, Sergeant Crisp is away with Caroline Powell. Jessica West and Joe West owned a 15-year-old, fairly new rides for Caroline. Julia Norman and Wizard of Oz get very close to the C elements of the Newmarket Equine Hospital corner, but they do get away with it, having to just wake Wizard of Oz up a couple of times by Catherine Springsteen, 14 years old.
Well, we're just seeing a replay of Wizard of Oz, and Julia Norman didn't have the most comfortable of jumps at the B element, and that directly affected their jump at the C. As they now head to the Semmelise house. Caroline Powell, Sergeant Crisp on the early stages have cleared the Devaku. So Wizard of Oz, Julia Norman, approaching the Suzuki ATV water, drop down into the water, straight over the B, and back on dry land, are well clear of the C element there.
Caroline Powell and Sergeant Crisp, by inspiration, 15-year-old Grey Gelding, come over from, picked up the ride at the back end of last year, and forming already a good partnership. 30.8 the dressage, a good dressage, just lowered 2 poles in the show jumping yesterday. They disappear down towards the Kenta Masters Open Ditch and the Cottages.com Flower Trough at 7 and 8.
Paul at Kings River, Sam Griffiths, heading downhill to the Saracen Horse Feeds Olympic Diamond at 24. And they go on to complete as Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell move to the barefoot retreats, arrowhead and rails. Very neatly done through that combination. We've seen a couple there having to work quite hard, but Caroline made that 3-part combination look absolutely effortless. She turns now to the Nags Ascent and jumps clear of that. Ahead of them and making their way to the Archant Travel Chests, it's Wizard of Oz and Julia Norman. Big drop on landing behind the B element there. And as Wizard of Oz and Julia Norman gallop away from that 19th fence, Caroline Powell, Sergeant Crisp heading on to the 12th.
Well, Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell at the first of those corners, left-handed corner, takes the white flag on the left-hand side, jumps the cartridge, and holds the line for the 4 strides, just gets a reminder down the right shoulder. Sergeant Crisp, though, looked pretty smart through there. So galloping away to the Shadwell Park gates at 13. Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell pop the gates to the Semmelise house.
Well, as Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell head to the Suzuki ATV water.
You've got news though, Claire, on Julia Norman. Just had that confirmed by our fence judges at 21B.
Yeah, that Wizard of Oz and Julia Norman heading to the last, but they have in fact been eliminated because they didn't jump the B element of the Fairfax Saddles Trakehner and log, missed out the log, so I'm afraid that will be an elimination. As Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell did go clear of the Suzuki ATV water. And we've got news of Rahiran Ruby and Imogen Murray, who went round earlier. We reported that their jumping at 12C was under investigation, and they were awarded 15 penalties for having missed out the flag, but those 15 penalties have now been removed, so they had a great clear round across the country. Well, underway, it is Cooley Earl and Georgie Strang who are clear of the first two. 32.2 dressage, clear in the show jumping, 21 their number. As Sergeant Crisp, Caroline Powell moved to the Bedmax saw bench and jump clear of that 18th fence. They'll head on to the Archant Travel Chests. That's at 19A and B. So come to the A element, first of those travel chests, jump it, put in the curve to the B element. Well, the horse had an uncomfortable jump at the B element. Horse really skewed over the B, but Caroline did well to stay in the saddle there. Well, Cooley Earl, Georgie Strang, they've jumped the Devereux Barn at 5 and make the turn to the Saracen Horse Feeds parallel. Well, did an amazing job, the horse there at the parallel, showed all of his scope to avoid activating the MIM clips on the A elements. Well, Georgie Strang gives Cooley Earl a bit of a reminder, just wakes him up as they head on to the Kenton Masters Open Ditch, whilst Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell, they'll be the next to come through the woodland towards the Pure Lettings parallel brush. That's the 22nd, and they jump beautifully clear of that, head on to the GJL Animal Feeds hay racks and fly that penultimate fence. It's downhill to the Saracen Horse Feeds 2012 Olympic Diamond.
Well, jumping the last, Sergeant Crisp and Caroline Powell, leaving Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl with the course to themselves at the Barefoot Retreat Arrowhead and Rails. Arrowhead, Rails and Arrowheads, neatly done by Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl. On to the Nags Essential feed carts at 11. Bit of a let-up fence for these 4-star competitors before the Newmarket Equine Hospital cartridges and corners, 12A, B and C. A couple of riders out already this morning. Long way to go. Last horse going cross country at about 2:30. So meeting the rising grounds, Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl. The first of those corners. Left. Then should they be forward, 5 strides and 4 strides. Just goes on the
That was
6.
just to prove you wrong, I think,
well,
Spencer.
there's wiggle rule. That's to prove me wrong as well. So run outs at 12C. Gets a reminder again, Cooley. Again, another horse that hasn't really looked like he's got into his rhythm. Got the bit between his teeth. We saw that just a short while ago. But they're clear on their second attempt. And it's interesting watching a number of these horses set off across the country already at fence 6. And I think that really is the starting point for us watching. They're a little bit sticky there, then they're not really taking them, and they need to be travelling. And pretty much Alec Lahore designs these courses for forward riding. And if the horses aren't going forward, there is wiggle room, but at some point you're going to get into trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And as Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl now head on to the Semmelise House, having jumped the Shadwell Park gate, should say that Over the Moon, the 6th, Scott Wallace next to start, have withdrawn. So Cooley Earl, Georgie Strang will have the course to themselves for a little longer as they approach the Suzuki ATV Water.
And again, just getting a reminder, Cooley Earl, big jump in, just about makes the house in the middle onto dry grounds.
It's interesting watching him. He's a very careful horse here, isn't he? And he jumped through into that water very carefully and travelled across the water. He doesn't want to touch a fence, which is great in the show jumping, and great when the horses are travelling. But Georgie Strang, Cooley Earl, Georgie just having to work quite hard. Well, Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl heading on to the Bedmax saw bench, and just see them as they approach that 18th fence. They jump that well. also understand that Vondo Bayet's Tom Crisp have withdrawn as well. So next to start will be Codstown Pet and Katie Hancock. Number 27, 34.7 dressage, 8 from the show jumping. Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl have cleared the Archant travel chests. At the B element there. At 19, they gallop on towards the Fairfax Saddles coloured log that just precedes the Trakehner and log at 21A and B. So have the course to themselves. Jumping the Fairfax Saddles coloured log, Trakehner and log, Cooley Earl and Georgie Strang now head on to the fence that is situated just ahead of us at the Pure Lettings parallel brushes. Katie Hancock and Codstown Pet join us on course of the Event Horse Owners Association brush roll and now jump the pouters vegetable display. Cooley Earl, Georgie Strang make their way to the GJL Animal Feeds hay rack. Starts to come down here at the Saracen Horse Feeds Houghton International Horse Trials, featuring this FEI Eventing Nations Cup competition. Leg 1 of 7. Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl gallop on towards the final fence. So Cooley Earl and Georgie Strang, they complete. That leaves us with Codstown Pet, Katie Hancock, approaching the Devercoo barn, clear that, and move on to the first of the combination fences. So as Spencer was saying earlier, real indication of how them jumping through this first combination. And certainly Codstown Pet looks like she's got the bit between her teeth. She's jumped the 3 elements there, gallops on towards the Kenton Masters open ditch. They've only just stepped up to this level this year, so they're looking to gain experience and confidence as they head on to the Kenton Masters open ditch.
Well, next to start will be Ben Way. Ben riding Catherine England's Endura Aldariada. 40.5 dressage, 8 in the show jumping, completed Blenheim, 8 and 9-year-olds for the last 2 years, now 10 years old by Hemingway. Then Mr. Radio Badminton, very busy with Radio Badminton just a few weeks ago. Endura Aldariada will be our next to start. Ben also works pretty much full-time for Butler Sherborne Estate Agents, very busy man, along with wife Sarah.
Well, Codstown Pet, Katie Hancock, well clear of the 3 elements at the barefoot retreats. Arrowhead and Rails really well clear there. They head on to the Nags Essentials feed cart and jump easily clear. Gallop on then to the Newmarket Equine Hospital corners and cartridge. So the left-hand corner, the A element, followed by the cartridge, and then downhill to that right-handed corner.
And we'll see if they go on the 5 and the 4 because they started off boldly. Ben Way is away with Endura Aldariada. Katie Hancock.
Well, as Katie jumps clear of the 3 elements there at the Newmarket Equine Hospital, cartridges and well, and B03. He looks very bold as she heads
Cottages.com flower trough. So the second
checked over. So important that those mem clips are checked, and that's what was being done there at 6 as Codstown Pet, Katie Hancock jump the Bedmax saw bench.
Well, our second team member is away for Belgium. It's Joris van Springel and Imperial van der Holt-Taka. 33.2 dressage, one down in the show jumping. Number 31, and more importantly, Belgium currently lying in third place. Constantin van Rick-Vorsel, their first team member, completed with a few penalties, 52.2. Karen Doff and Stephanie Dandremont, the remaining two riders. We catch up with Ben Way and Giro Adariada at the feed car. Here we have Joris van Springel, our second team member for Team Belgium at now fence 6. Imperial van der Holt-Taka turning for the parallel, and then the two angled hedges on the two strides. Well, very neatly through the three elements of 6. Enduro Aldariada and Ben Way down to the cartridges and corner. Sees a long stride, had to make up some ground in there, but Ben made it happen up to the Shadwell Park gates at 13. Next to get underway will be our second team rider for Team Germany. Will be Christoph Wahler with Karjatan S. They are lying in first place individually on 24.8, second after dressage, but the overnight leader after dressage, Ingrid Klimke, with Asha P, had 2 fences down, that raising Christoph Wahler up into top spots.
Well, as Codstown Pet, Katie Hancock complete, Ben Way and Enduro Adalriada come to the Suzuki ATV Water. So we just watch them as they approach the 3 elements, drop down into the water, hold for the 4 strides to the house in the water, and really well clear of the sea element there. Imperial van der Holt-Taka and Joris van Springel for Belgium, heading away from the Nags Essential feed cart. So as they head on to the Newmarket Equine Hospital, corners and cartridge at 12 A, B and C, our leader, Christoph Wahler and Karjatan S are underway.
Taking the red flag at the second of those corners at 12C, Imperial van der Holt-Taka and Joris van Springel. Karjatan S, Christoph Wahler, second team member for Team Germany, second in the CIC 3-star at Stregom, 6th at Wiesbaden, 7th at Le Meulen, and winner of the Nations Cup Buccolo last year. On to the Devaku barn at 5.
Well, as Joris van Springel and Imperial van der Holtaker approach the Semmelys house, they make their way on to the Suzuki ATV Water. And we'll just turn to that big brush log down into the water. One of the riders who's made a bit of a turn in the water as opposed to just dropping down and going straight, but it works out well, and they are heading away from that fence.
Kajattanes, Christoph Weiler for Germany, up to the Saracen Hall feed, parallel and hedges at 6A, 6B and C. Turning off the right-hand side with the water tower to the left-hand side. They won't be paying much attention to that, but very bold through 6A, B and C. Good start for them.
Yeah, beautiful through the 3 elements, I should say. Christoph Weiler and Kajetan. Next to start, it is Antonio Cejudo Caro and Duke HSM for Spain. 37.5 dressage, 5.2 penalties picked up in the show jumping arena.
Kajetan, Christoph Weiler jumped very neatly rails at 10A and C.
Well clear of the second. On.
Antonio Kayurakara not hanging around with Duke HSM. Antonio Kayurakara up to 6. This is our second team member for Spain. Well, not the best jump at the parallel, then fighting for their heads. Been an uncomfortable jump through the 3 elements of the Saracen horse feed, parallel and hedges, but they get it done.
Well, as we just see a replay of Duke H through the Saracen horse feeds, parallel and hedges. Imperial van der Holtaker and Joris van Springel are approaching the final stages of the course, and we pick up Christoph Weiler, our leader, individually coming to the Suzuki ATV Water. So they drop down into the water and just fiddle their stride ahead of the B element. You can see with this horse where he picks up the marks in the dressage. He's very light on his front end, has a real presence, and that showed in the water there.
Well, Duke HSM, Antonio Kayurakara, again just living a little bit dangerously through the barefoot retreat, arrowhead and rails at 10A, B and C. On to the Nags Essential feed cart. Gets quite close to the feed cart as well. So next for them is the Cartridges and Corner at 12A, B and C. We stay with them onto the Newmarket Equine Hospital. Left-handed corner, the Cartridge and Corner. Imperial van der Holtaker, Joris van Springel has completed. New starter is our second rider for France, and it's Cyril Lefebvre and Armagno Sarrosa. 36.2 dressage, clear in the show jumping. Well, very clever bit of footwork from Duke HSM and Antonio Kayurakara. Will clear through all 3 elements of the Cartridges and Corner at 12A, B and C, up to the Shadwell Park gates at 13. Armagno Sarrosa and Cyril Lefebvre up to the Devaku barn at 5.
As Kajetan S, Christoph Weiler continuing to make great progress there, well clear of the arch and travel chests. Duke HSM approaches the Semmelise house and jumps clear of that. They head on down towards the Suzuki ATV water. Ahead of them, Kajetan S and Christoph Wahler are approaching the final three as Duke HSM jumps down into the water. Well, Antonio is rather pitched forwards, and then well, as Duke HSM and Antonio Seudo Caro, as I said, rather pitched forwards on landing, and that has a direct consequence on their approach to the B element, just right out on the right hand side. There was no hope of them jumping it from there.
Good to see Antonio Kara is up on his feet, and also Duke HSM is just being looked at by the vets. Looked a little bit sore after hitting that fence. Armagno Sarasar and Cyril Lefebvre being stopped, I think, at, in fact, no, keeping running. They're jumping the Nags Essential feed carts and, well, in fact, just jumping the barefoot retreat, arrowhead and rails, and going onto the Nags Essential feed carts at 11.
Well, it's Christoph Wahler and Kajetan S, our leaders. They have gone on to complete. We will bring you their time just as soon as we have it. Well, Spencer, you have a score through.
That's for Joris van Springel, Imperial van der Holtaka. Round in 7 minutes 21 seconds, 8.4 time. They complete on 45.6. The second score in for Team Belgium, 45.6 for Joris van Springel, Imperial van der Holtakas.
Well, we just saw Cyril Lefebvre and Armagno Sarosa jumping well clear of the Newmarket Equine Hospital cartridges and corner. They now jump the Shadwell Park gate and head on to the Semmelise house. Have in fact been held at that 14th fence. That's because of that fall of Antonio Seudo Caro and Duque HSM. The horse down there just being checked over by our veterinary team. So Armagno Sarosa and Cyril Lefebvre have been held in front of that Semmelise house at 14. And so Cyril Lefebvre for France will just be walking round, and Armagno Sarosa's muscles warm.
Well, score in for Christoph Wahler and Kajetan S, 6 minutes 55 seconds, 5 finishes on his dressage score of 24.8. And that will mean that he will lead and will win this CCI SO 4-star section here at Houghton. Cannot be beaten, but more importantly, a really good score for Team Germany. Now with two riders home, Jerome Rabin and Coraldu R on 31.8, Christoph Wahler 24.8. They still have two riders left to go, Ingrid Klimke and Felix Etzel. Ingrid riding Ashapi, Bandit 436 with Felix Etzel, but the drop score 31.2 at the moment of Ingrid Klimke, but still all to play for. We're just about, well, just getting towards halfway with the French rider Cyril Lefebvre and Armagno Sarosa being held at fence 14, the Semmelise House before the water, and they'll be back underway. So following France, it will be Team Switzerland, Italy, Sweden, the first rider for the Netherlands, and then Great Britain's Eliza Stoddart, the second team rider for Great Britain, will then. Well, the leaderboard at the moment, it is Christoph Wahler, Hayatan S, 24.8. In second, Ludwig Svenestad for Sweden, 29.5, added nothing to his dressage of 29.5 in second. Jerome Rabin and Quarry R in third on 31.8, with Richard Coney for Great Britain in fourth place. Kananaskis, 33.2. Well, there's still a long way to go, but we hope you're enjoying watching, wherever you're watching, the first leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here at Houghton Hall. 7 legs in total, but it has been won here on the last 4 occasions by Team Germany. Will it be team win number 5? They seem pretty dominant here. I don't know what that was, but they seem very dominant here.
Dominant.
At Houghton. Real favourite of theirs as well to come to Houghton, and they really do put their stamp down. Well, great aerial shots we have with the cricket pitch to our right hand side of Houghton Hall in all its glory, all the avenues, and we're so grateful to the Chumley family for allowing us here once again for running the horse trials. Well, weather conditions absolutely perfect, a little bit overcast. We've had some really hot weather over the last few days, but it is perfect here with a good breeze, and I think we're just about to get back underway. Just being held down at fence 14, Cyril Lefebvre and Armagno Sarosa.
So Armagno Sarosa and Cyril Lefebvre for France about to get back underway. Signal going back to the fence judges at the Semmelise House that they can restart Cyril Lefebvre. So he'll be going way back beyond the timing marker, Armagno Sarosa, and getting up to event speed, gallop past that timing marker, and fence judges will take a time, and they will then approach that Semmelise House at 14. Sarosa, a beautiful jump at the Semmelise House. The water and very element and sail over the sea. So held out on course for 4 minutes and 56 seconds. That will be taken from their total lapse time on course to give us an accurate running time for Cyril Lefebvre and Armagno Sarosa. Well, held just in front of that Suzuki ATV water. They did a really good job through that 3-part combination. They did have the Semmelise House before that. Looks as though Armagno Sarosa may have just perhaps trodden on an overreach boot as she dropped down into that water, but recovered well. Well, as Armagno Sarosa, Cyril Lefebvre now come to the Bedmax saw bench and jump clear of that.
Well, away from the start over the first is team rider for Switzerland, Robin Godel, and Grandeur de Lully CH, 28.2 dressage. One down, show jumping, 4 penalties to add, 35 their number, and second team rider for Switzerland. Already Patricia Attinger and Hilton P. They were eliminated out on course, first rider, so it's all 3 scores to count now for Team Switzerland. Grandeur de Lully CH on to 3 and 4. They'll disappear out of the trees, turn left-handed down the avenue and away from the fabulous artwork displayed here at Houghton Hall to the Devaku barn at 5.
Well, Robin Godel and Grandeur de Lully approaching the Saracen horse feeds, parallel and hedges. Jump the parallel, 4 strides, clear the beat, and then 2 strides out over the C element. They head on to the Kenton Masters open ditch as Armagno Serosa and Cyril Lefebvre. This has been a really good round for this pair. They're heading on to the Pure Lettings parallel brush. They jump that beautifully, head on to the GJL Animal Feeds hay rack and are clear there. On they go to the final fence then, the Saracen Horse Feeds 2012 Olympic Diamond, and jump clear of that.
Well, away from the starts, the second team rider for Italy, Alberto Giuni, with his own and Katie Robinson's Mischievous by Cordino, 12-year-old grey gelding. 41.6 the dressage, clear in the show jumping. Just jumping the second.
We pick up Grandeur de Lully and Robin Godel at the barefoot retreats. Combination at 10 A, B and C, very neatly clear of the 3 elements. Heading on then to the Nags Essentials feed cart. Clear of the Nags Essentials feed cart, Grandeur de Lully and Robin Godel.
Alberto Giuni and Mischievous galloping down the avenue to the Devaku barn at 5. Team Italy with 1 rider home, Giovanni Ugolotti and Duke of Champions, 74.5. They had problems out on course, so a really important round now for Team Italy as Alberto Giuni turns now right-handed away from the main park here to the Saracen horse feed, parallel and hedges. So neatly through 6.
See Grandeur de Lully and Robin Godel at the Newmarket Equine Hospital. Combination fence at 12 A, B and C. Took the flag with them at the C element, but they were clear. They've jumped the Shadwell Park gate and now jump clear of the Semelease house. I think Grandeur de Lully just knocked the fence and the flag came down there. They into the Suzuki ATV Water, jump the B element and no problem whatsoever there.
Alberto Giuni and Mischievous at the barefoot retreat. Arrowhead and rails. That's the first of the arrowheads. Then on to the second of those arrowheads, away from the upright rail on the top of the bank. Alberto Giuni for Italy goes on to the Nags Essential at 11.
Well, Mischievous, Alberto Giuni clear of the Nags Essential feed cart. Next to join us, it is Jonna Britt for Sweden with Trino. 29.5 dressage, 13th position after that first. Oh.
taken away, 2 time penalties. They just so they still have 3 scores to count.
Alberto Giuni, mischievous. They're going through the Suzuki ATV water and have no problems there as Jonabrit Quattrino jump the Devaku barn at 5. Quattrino at the Saracen horse feeds parallel, and Hedges jump the 3 elements as next to start. .3 for the Netherlands. As Quattrino suffers an awkward jump at the A element of the 10th, but recovers well and jumps clear of the B and C elements. Mischievous Alberto Giuni, while taking a slightly different line to the line that we've seen most riders taking at the arch and travel chests. And it pays off. They head away from that fence without penalty. Well, it's 2012 Olympic diamond. Couple of strides of trot ahead of the A element there. Careful jump at the B and having to ride for the C element. They do that well. Spence, you've got a score.
Yeah, scoring for Robin Goodell and Grandeur de Louis CH, just 2 seconds over the optimum time. 0.8 to add, and they complete on 33.0. So a good score for Team Switzerland, who will need all 3 scores to count. As Elaine Penn undercover, safely through the barefoot retreat, Arrowhead and A, B and C. Our last competitor in this second. Sixth at Bal and Dennis this April, 34.3 dressage, clearing the show jumping.
Well, yeah, as convincing as any there. Elaine Penn undercover, turning to the Shadwell Park gate, and they jump clear of that. Ahead of them, Jonabrit and Quattrino are clear of the Bedmax saw bench. We pick them up as they head to the Archant travel chests jump the A element and make the turn to the B, which has got that big drop on landing. They head on to the Fairfax Saddles coloured log as the Lane Pen undercover are quickly clear of the Semmelise house and approach ETV Water. Well, just peck a little on landing, but sit up, stay balanced. Well clear of the B and C element. Spence, you got a score?
Yeah, another score for team rider for Italy, Alberto Giuni and Mischievous. 29 seconds over, 11.6 time penalties, and they complete on 53.2. Eliza Stoddart, Dick O'Malley, up at the Saracen horse feed parallel and hedges. Jumping the parallel, making the turn to the first of the hedges, gets quite close, but then Eliza makes the definite decision to go on the 2 strides between the 2 hedges. They disappear onto 7. Oljena Briest very nearly home with Quattrino. Team rider for Sweden. Just a few jumping efforts left to go. Now at the 3rd last. As Lady they do the barefoot retreats, Arrowhead and Rails.
Well, are now home. Score with the Ludwig Svenstall and finished, so we'll bring you their time when we have it. In the team competition. And head on towards the Arctic Travel Chest. The Newmarket. The A element there. And beautifully clear. Well, Eliza Stoddart, Dick O'Malley jump the Shadwell Park gate. Steve Collins approach the Saracen horse feeds parallel and hedges. Element. Curve round. The on the Stoddart down and they Felicity Collins. They're at the barefoot retreats. No hesitation there. Spence, you've got a score.
Another score for Swedish 3-0, round in 7th time. They finish on 42 points. Sweden, because they were lying, as Claire said, in 2nd place. 2.7 they will hope will be their drops. Team are in the 20s, low. Up. Left-handed corner. The cartridge, and then 4 strides to the 2nd of those right-handed corners. Glasgow Sweet Clover as the Sweet
Next 36.7. Liza Stoddart, Dicko. Element. Head on to the Fairfax Saddles coloured log. Felicity Collins and Glass on down in and head on to
Doing 40 points. And C.
saw bench. track. Are out. Elements of 8 at 13.
Chemicals riding. Picture frame at 8 and 9.
Murmasar Diamonds. The two travel chests. Saddles coloured log, whilst Jobless Van Barrelhoff TV water drop down. Slipped her reins, staying in balance with Flower Box. Next, they are Berts and Carol Seymour Newton, the 3.9 dressage, 4 in the show jump. At the Newmarket Equine Hospital. No, as well as any. Well, jumping over that Shadwell Park. In the early stages, another proposition, Louisa Lockwood have jumped the should Coney approach the Saracen Horse Feeds London 2012.
Still turns and tears that Seema Lee's house for Suzuki ATV water.
Water and jump the B element. Turn in the air as they gallop away from.
Yeah, over the first. Four from home.
And Louisa away from the Saracen Horse Feeds. 6A, B and C. Well, we're in fact now going to watch a replay of that because they've jumped the Devaku barn, and we'll see them as they approach the Saracen Horse Feeds parallel. jump clear of the A. Element, 2 strides, they're out over the sea.
And we have a Belgium, he's riding his own inside out. 37.7, clear in the shape. And 3.
Another proposition, Louisa Lock. Very boldly into that combination. And pop in. And jump.
Another vlog. 2. And now
Right. L Animal Feeds hay racks. At the Newmarket Equine Hospital. Play of their passage. Jump it very well indeed. The Semele's house at 14.
yeah, and another proposition now coming. Water, that big drop in over the hedge. House. Nicely do that for another proposition.
Onslow's RLE Limbo jumping. Well, we catch up with Inside Out to Langwater and beautifully done there as Rosa Onslow in 8th position individual. Jumping yesterday, 99. As Inside can't. Of the sea element.
Argent.
Limbo Kai. Between
So now it comes down.